Tasya Nananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamsha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaskute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So welcome to the Manah Siksha series every Friday, Saturday and Sunday morning. Yesterday we discussed Manah Siksha verse 2 and the commentary of Bhakti Vinod Thakur. We also discussed the Manah Siksha Bhasha. So I'll just summarize what we discussed yesterday and then we will continue today with the commentary of Bhakti Vigyan Goswami Maharaj. I hope the audio is clear. Na dharmam na dharmam shruti gana niruktam kilakuru braje radha krishna prachura paricharyam ihatanu sachi sunum nandishwara pati sutatve guruvaram mukunda prishtatve smara param ajasram nanu manam. So this is the second instruction Raghunath Das Goswami is giving to his mind, that don't perform ordinary dharma or adharma, develop love for, prachur love for Radha and Krishna. And meditate on Lord Chaitanya as son of Nanda. And the Guru as the most confidential servitor, very dear to Krishna. In that way, we maintain that one pointed goal of only worshipping Radha and Krishna. So three doubts Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions in the Purva Paksha, that how will one earn his living and how do we regard Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then how one should meditate on Guru. So all these three Bhaktivinoda Thakur answers in the commentary. Because the essence of the Shruti is to perform parodharma, not dharma or adharma, but to perform parodharma. Parodharma means paradharma, that is pure devotion to Radha and Krishna. So that's what Raghunath Das Goswami is hinting here. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur brings out a nice analysis of the spiritually ignorant and the spiritual intelligent. The spiritually ignorant are following the path of the Vedas, and there are rules which promote piety and discourage sin. And this is done out of fear But one attains self-realization, he becomes spiritually intelligent. He understands he is the servant of God. So for such persons, the instruction is don't give much regard to dharma and adharma, perform pure devotional service. And all the varnashram duties have to be done in a mood of pure devotional service. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives the example of grahasthas who established a vigraha at home, earning money, agriculture, supporting the family, protecting wealth, building the home. All that has to be done as a servant of the deity and not the enjoyer. If you're doing in this consciousness, then all your activities are leading towards pure devotional service. Of course, apart from this, we have our core devotional activities of Shravanam Kirtana. So even the Shraddha ceremony can be performed in the mood of service to the deity. And then by doing like this, then the conditioned nature, when we transcend, then we are situated on the transcendental platform. Then the soul's natural propensity, intrinsic nature, that is natural spontaneous attraction, rag towards the supreme soul, will manifest. And then one can reside in Brajdham. And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains, Sachi Sunum Nandishwara Pati Sutatve. So we should meditate on Lord Gauranga as none other than Radha and Krishna. And the Guru is what? The Guru is the intimate friend, Priya Sakti of Srimati Radharani, Mukunda Prishna, very dear to Lord Mukunda. And the Manashiksha Bhasha is just a verse way, in the verse format, in the form of a explanation. The whole verse is explained by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, which is quite simple. Yesterday we saw only one paragraph commentary of Shivram Swami Maharaj, because he has covered everything in verse 1 itself. So today let's begin commentary by Bhaktivinoda Goswami Maharaj. So paragraphs 1 to 16, one pointed in our goal. So this is the theme. And Bhaktivinoda Goswami Maharaj is focusing on the first and the second part of the verse. Na dharmam, na dharmam, shruti gana kilam kuru. Vraje Radha Krishna prachura paricharyam. Worship prachur Radha and Krishna and don't give much importance to dharma and adharma. So na means not, and that is the instruction what not to do to the mind, and what to do to the mind. Develop prachur, profuse devotion to Radha and Krishna. So how we should be one pointed in our goal is the theme in this verses. Very interesting explanation. This second verse of Manashiksha contains a very important element, the principle of a single goal. Raghunath Das Goswami explains how a person who lives in the world and performs the duties associated with the world can attain this unity of spiritual direction. Paragraph 2. In the early verses of Manashiksha, Raghunath Das Goswami speaks about various obstacles that arise on the sadhaka's way, especially the pride, which was spoken. One obstacle is that our minds are many branched, bahushaka. We are accustomed to setting many goals and pursuing them. But by doing so, we can never reach Krishna, because as the saying goes, if you chase two rabbits, both will escape. Such a simple thing, but very deep point. So our tendency of the mind is, always multi-branched. And what is the reason the mind is multi-branched? Anyone? What is the reason why the mind is multi-branched? Or Bahushaka, why it is? What is the reason? Yes, Virendra Yadav Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dandatna. Prabhu, Manah tu chanchalas Krishna. Mind is very chanchal.
So it is multi-branch. No, that's not the reason. Dr. Ashwini Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. It's just a guess. Your mind is divided into conscious and subconscious mind. So that could be one reason.
Pardon?
Your mind is divided into conscious, subconscious mind. So is that the reason it is called as multi-branched?
Yeah, that is also can be aligned, but what is the main reason? Tirthat Prabhuji, yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dandat Pranam. Because we are not fully focused on serving Krishna. We are
Yes, but why so many branches? The mind goes in this direction, that direction, and all. What is the reason?
our only focus should be to serve Supreme Personality of Godhead direct. But
Yeah.
we are not focused on that. We are
Why we are focused in other directions? What is the reason we are focused in other directions? What is the reason? Krishna Pad Prabhuji?
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, Bahushakha Hyanantascha Buddhayo Avyavasayina.
Yes, correct. Yes,
So,
but why it is Bahushaka?
the reason is Avyavasayina means one who is not fixed up in devotional service.
No, yes, but still we are not going to the root. Why it goes multi-brand? What is the reason?
Because we have so many desires of
that is the
sense
point.
gratification.
That is the point. The mind is multi-branched or Bahushaka because we have unlimited desires. If we have one desire, focus was correct. But I wanted to come to that point. One desire just to serve Radha and Krishna, then will be Ekehi Kuru Nandana. Yes, that's right. If we chase two rabbits, both will escape. Unfortunately, we have practiced at trying to accomplish many things at the same time. This is the same obstacle that Krishna speaks about in the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. One whose Buddhi, intelligence is pure, who is one-pointed, Ekehi Kurunandana. His Buddhi is fixed in the self-realization, attaining pure love. But because of Bhoga Aishwarya Prasaktanam, Daya Aprita Chetasam, the Cheta consciousness is Bahushaka because the desire for Bhoga and Aishwarya. These are the two reasons. Paragraph 3. For a person who follows the path of conventional religion, dharma, there are many regulations, one of which is the instruction to worship God. The prescription for the person who has chosen bhakti and wants to attain bhakti is just one. However, God is not merely included. The only goal is to attain God. Please hear very carefully what Maharaj is going to speak now. It should be the only goal and everything else a means to attain this goal. So this is Vyavasayatmika. Our goal is to attain love for Krishna. That's it. And how to attain that love? That is the means. In other words, we should develop chastity to God. Paragraph 4. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Braja. Krishna also says that foolish people worship the demigods and their minds are stolen by illusion or Maya. Ultimately, a person must have one goal, which is love of God, not just worship of God. Please mark this. When we worship God for material gain, then the gain we want to get is more important to us than God himself. It is so piercing to the heart when we hear this statement. So we might come to Krishna But we come to Krishna not to love him, but to ask something material from him. So this kind of a bhakti is called as, sakama bhakti. Sakama bhakti. Whereas the bhakti should be performed what? Nishkam. Nishkam bhakti is Shuddha bhakti or Ananya bhakti. So the son who is cut off from the father is the king. He owns the entire kingdom, and now he has come back, and he comes to the father not to love the father and reciprocate with the father, but to ask father, give me some wealth, give me some following, give me some, I want a beautiful wife or that, So the father will provide it, but the father is expecting something more from the son, to have a loving reciprocation based on love. So this is the difference. We might come to Krishna, but for material gain. When we come do that, then the gain we want to get is more important to us than God himself. In a sense, we put this material goal above God. For us, God is nothing but a means or a tool to fulfilling our desire. If you have any questions, you can always raise your hands. Raghunath Das Goswami is stressing that a person must clearly understand they have only one goal and everything else serves that goal. Vraje Radha Krishna Prachur Paricharyam Ihatanu. He's making it very emphatic and clear, Raghunath Das Goswami. For example, Dronacharya, marveling at Arjuna's accuracy, asked him, how do you hit the target so precisely? How we should be one-pointed. Ekehi Kurunandana, Maharaj is giving now an example. Arjuna explained by saying, first I see the bird, and along with the bird, I see the tree in which the bird is sitting, and I see the branch on which it is sitting. Then I see only the branch on which the bird is sitting and the bird. Then I see only the bird. But I do not shoot the arrow until I stop seeing everything else but the eye of the bird. So just narrowing your focus and making it one-pointed. The arrow then flies there by itself because I don't see anything else. Now, very deep lesson is there from the story which Maharaj is narrating about Ekehi Kurunandana. Let us see what Maharaj has to say now. Paragraph 7. It is this quality that we need to develop. When we look, we should not see anybody except Krishna. Now, how difficult it is, just imagine. Stavar deki, jangam deki, na deki tara murti, sarvatra hoy, ishtadeva spurti. So once there's one very exalted senior devotee. He's a scientist in the Bhaktivedanta Institute also. So he was explaining that one student came to him and asked him, how do I know I'm Krishna conscious? And he asked, on the street, just when you go out, what do you see? I see there are a lot of trees. So then he said, you're not Krishna conscious, forget it. So if you see a tree, what do you see? The tree is, usually the trunk is dark in color. And if you see the tree trunk and you remember Krishna, that means you're seeing Krishna. So if you're able to see like that, then you're Ekehi Kurunandana. When we look, we should not see anybody except Krishna. So this is the standard we have to come to. Very, very exalted platform this is. But we should begin. And the most important chapter in the Bhagavad Gita, how we can direct our consciousness to always see Krishna? Which is that chapter which helps us to come to this point? Anyone knows which chapter of the Gita helps us to come to this point where whatever we see Krishna? Who will answer this? Two hands have been raised. Yes, Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. It is Vibhuti Yoga, 10th chapter.
Yes, this is Vibhuti Yoga. All the things which attract you in this world, Krishna is saying, I know they come from me. So when you see these things, you should remember Krishna. Keshu keshu cha bhaveshu chintosmi Bhagavan Mahim. That was the question Arjuna asked. In conditioned life, we look and we see Maya. As we practice, as Raghunath Das Goswami speaks about in this verse, we gradually stop seeing everything else. Ekanta. Ekanta means a person who has only one goal. And when we do not see anything else, then our hearts are filled by faithfulness towards God, just like a faithful wife towards her husband. After all, God is Ishwar, the supreme pati or husband. When we scatter our minds over various goals, it is as if we are being unfaithful to him. This is how we should see. Just like a chaste wife will never look at anyone else except her husband. Similarly, for us, chastity means to never look at Maya, but everywhere to look always for Krishna. Paragraph 8. This unfaithfulness manifests itself in various ways, either subtle or gross. Vedic culture first teaches a person to be chaste in an ordinary way. But the highest chastity consists of reducing everything else to this goal, in seeing how everything else brings us to this goal. And here Raghunath Das Goswami is saying, na dharmam, na dharmam, suti gana niruktam kilpur. Reject all dharma and all adharma for Krishna's sake. Paragraph 9. We wear a kantimala and eat with our right hand instead of a fork because it pleases Krishna. Krishna, believe it or not, likes it when we sit on the floor and when we wear neck beads. A chaste wife decorates herself with ornaments only for her husband. An unchaste wife also puts on ornaments, but she wears them for everyone. So, if we see anything else and we don't see in that Krishna, then it's like an unchaste wife. So that's how simple and clear Maharaj is making with the example of this chaste wife. In the same way, we must adore ourselves with our virtues and qualities, not for the sake of the virtues themselves or to make a show of these virtues, but so that Krishna enjoys them. We keep this secret deep in our heart. I am following this dharma, all that Krishna wants me to, for the sake of pleasing him. Now, Maharaj gives an example of this from the pastime of the gopis. It is said that there are different categories of gopis. When Shyam Sundar Gopinath stands under the Vamshi Vata playing his flute, the gopis run to him, but they face different obstacles on the way. For us, as we are practicing Krishna consciousness, we face different kinds of obstacles. But when Krishna played his flute on the Vamsi Vata, there were a different level of obstacles for some of the Sadhana Siddha Gopis. We will hear that now. We have obstacle that we have to take a leave from our office to attend a yatra, or within the family there are so many obligations, somehow we have to get rid of them, or we need permission from our family members to attend a yatra. So many kind of gross obstacles we face to come to temple, or to come for satsang, or to come for yatras. But what did the gopis face the obstacles? Let us hear this. There are impediments that some sadhana siddha gopis, of which there are different categories, meet on their way to the forest. So what were those obstacles? Some run to Krishna and face no obstacles because they have no obstacles in their hearts. But there are other gopis who hear the sound of the flute. They want to rush to Krishna, but their husband board the doors, stand before them and explain, where are you running to? These gopis remain at home and die of love for Krishna. In fact, it is mentioned that those husbands who stopped these gopis were sadhana siddha gopis. They were not the nitya siddha gopis. And the husbands stopped, and these gopis had to stay back, and they were burning in the fire of separation from Krishna. And burning in that fire of separation, they burnt the subtle contamination which was there, very, very subtle contamination. And now in their spiritual bodies, they went, where Krishna was there. So that is mentioned in the Vishwanath Chakra Thakur's commentary. Some gopis' husbands seem non-existent and do not bolt their doors. The gopis run out and come directly to Krishna. So these gopis who had no obstacle within the heart, their husbands were not existing for them. So they did not bolt the doors. So the gopis ran away. These are nitya siddha gopis. However, the other gopis, there are husbands and bones. The restricted gopis still have an attachment to dharma, to their righteousness, attachment to the idea that I am such a righteous gopi. And yes, Shyam Sundar is playing his flute. I want to run to him, but here is my husband. Here is my husband. Immediately the husband turns up and says, did you call me? And he bolts the door. So the husbands were the external obstacles in the form of their husbands obstructing them and bolting was not then external. It was an internal obstacle within because of that attachment to dharma, Stri dharma. That, I am, a chaste wife, and, in the dead of the night, leaving my family duties, how can I go to Krishna? So this was there. So that, but here is my husband. This was, of course, I'll come to the, standard what we as devotees should practice. This is only in Krishna Leela happening, and we can never, artificially imitate this. If the chaste wife is practicing Krishna consciousness, and she has attraction to go to the Bhagavatam class and hear, but at the same time she has to feed her husband and children. She says, oh no, let them do whatever they want. I will run for the class. She cannot do that. Then there will be quarrel in the family, and then there will be tensions, and then you cannot practice your Krishna consciousness. But these are the highest levels where in Krishna Leela we are seeing this. This is for us to learn. When a person retains even the slightest attachment to the notion of being something other than a person who loves Krishna, this is attachment to pride. My goodness. This attachment to pride can become manifest even as attachment to virtues, and it will create an obstacle on the way. in the process of spiritual practice, we must overcome all these hindrances. And when we overcome these internal obstacles, the external ones will disappear. Then, when we hear the sound of Krishna's flute, we will run and dance and embrace Krishna. We should clearly understand that we have only one goal, which is love for Krishna. And the only way to achieve this goal is by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We do not need anything else. We do not need anything else. So this is the theme, how you should be Ekehi Purunandana. Now, I want to add some additional points regarding this pastime mentioned about the sadhana siddha gopis facing an external obstacle in the form of their husbands that did not allow them, and that was an internal obstacle. So Vishwanath Chakra Thakur, in one of his commentaries in the Bhagavatam, now I'm coming to the point of how, as sadhakas within the family institute, where both husband and wife and children are practicing Krishna consciousness, how they should implement these principles. I will ask you a question. I'll explain and ask you a question, and you will have to answer. Now, in the institute of marriage between husband and wife, a lot of stress sometimes is given that the wife should be very chaste to the husband. At the same time, the husband also should be extremely chaste to the wife. This is also very important. And once I remember one of the grahasthas was telling me that he's a businessman, and a lady businessman called him, and for a business discussion, she invited him to come to a hotel, and he told that I don't eat anything outside. I can just take fruits or juice. He said, that's okay. But still, this businessman, he said, I have to go and meet a Mataji, who's also a businesswoman. She's not a devotee. So he told that, can my wife accompany, although she's not, nothing to do with the business deal, but I'll be happy if my wife accompanies. And he told his wife that, I'm going for this meeting and she's a Mataji, and please come for my protection. And that's how. So this is also, the husbands also need to be chaste to their wife, and the wives also have to have chastity. Now, if the wife is having a paramour, that means she is having an affair with another person outside the marriage, what is it called? What is said? What is it said? If there is some this kind of a relationship, what is it called in English or in Sanskrit? Anyone? Yes, Archana Mataji.
Prabhuji, it is called as Dambik.
Dambik. Okay. Dambik. Can you give any English equivalent to this?
Unloyal or unfaithful.
Unloyal, unfaithful. Yeah, it is.
Dambik is a person who has his or her faith in different things, or not stick to one thing.
Yeah.
She's not
It's actually,
loyal
according
to
to
her.
Shastra, the highest form of adultery. According to Shastra. So this is, a highest form of adultery. Durachar, Sudurachar, highest form of adultery according to Shastra. It is highly, highly sinful. Highly sinful. Now, I'll give you another same. We're continuing with the same example. Now, this wife who is having a lover outside the marriage, she is because she's having a lover outside the marriage, she's committing a deep adultery. It is very simple. She is now not chaste to the husband, but now chaste to the paramour or the lover. What is this now? What is this? Yes, Archana Mataji.
Prabhuji, it's a grievance. I mean, this is the most highest form of adultery. I mean,
Yes.
she's married to a husband and she's doing extramarital affair or something.
Yeah, she's very chaste to the lover now. So this is deep, deep, deep adultery. Now coming to another higher extent. She is chaste to the lover, at the same time chaste to the husband. What is this now? Okay. Yes, Archana Mataji.
This is Aparad.
This is
Aparad.
aparad. Okay. This is the highest form of adultery. This is the highest form of adultery. That she's chaste to both the lover as well as the husband. Now, this is the highest level of sin, adultery. Now, Vishwanath Chandra Thakur, the way he brings out, he says, similarly, in a Krishna conscious setup, the wife has to be 100% chaste to the husband and 100% be chaste to the lover. And who is that lover? You tell me now. Who will answer this? Okay. Yes, Archana Mataji.
It's Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, it's Krishna. So that is how we should, that is the standard given. That means we cannot say that, no, I have Bhagavatam class, I'm chaste to Krishna, so I'll run for the Bhagavatam class and not attend my duties at home. And if we follow this principle, then most of the problems in the Grahastha life is because of not understanding this principle. So we should maintain, because even the husband who is in the male form is the representative of Krishna, and we should see like that. And if we can have this, just like, it has been mentioned to how to see Gauranga Mahaprabhu, Sachi Sutta is none other than Krishna. And the Guru is also none other than the representative of Srimati Radharani or Nityananda Mahaprabhu. So if we practice like this, and the husband also should understand that, because, my wife is so devoted to Krishna, that also brings appreciation. And that's how, the situation we need to practice in our sadhana stage, because we cannot think about this exalted pastime which is mentioned by Maharaj about the sadhana siddha gopis, that will run hearing the flute of Krishna, and if the husband stop, then there'll be battle, and then there'll be divorce and so many problems. So we should maintain 100% chastity to the husband and 100% chastity to Krishna. So this is how Vishwanath Chandra Thakur explains. Now, regarding the first theme which we have discussed up till now, any questions? There's one question. Yes, Dr. Archana Mataji.
Prabhuji, this is a very simple daily day-to-day example. I have my class at 7:30. If I have to prepare something for my husband or for my family, I'm desperately willing to attend the class, but simultaneously I have to fulfill the duties also.
Yes.
So in this case, how am I going to manage both the things if I want to attend both?
So you will have to balance it. Like for me also, I take a diet, and I also have to take my diet on time. So before the class, I got it ready partly, and after the class, I'll make it partly ready and have it on time. So similarly, we have a duty to serve our family members, And then we'll have to adjust things so that we keep everything in balance. The moment the balance is broken, then there can be disturbance. And this is the art of balancing, which is a real art of how to practice Krishna consciousness. So we don't act in a passionate way, but in a very, very sattvic way, in the mode of goodness. How to, between the two, how to find that thin line where we balance both and achieve both win-win situations. So this is the art we need to study and do. Is it okay, Mataji?
Yes, Professor. Thank you so much.
Any other questions regarding this theme what we discussed? Okay, so now we'll go to the next theme. Now the next was mentioned was Guru and Lord Chaitanya. Paragraph 17 to 19. Well, Raghunath Das Goswami is saying exclusive love for only Radha and Krishna. Then the doubt Bhaktivinoda Thakur had raised, what about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Guru? How should we see? Raghunath Das Goswami says, Raje Radha Krishna Prachura Paricharyam Ihatanu. I start worshipping Radha and Krishna. Then he says, Sachi Sunu Nandishwara. How should I see Lord Chaitanya? Lord Chaitanya is the son of Sachi. I should see as the son of Nanda Maharaj. When we worship Lord Chaitanya, we worship him as Krishna. We see him as Krishna who bought us love of God and came to teach us love of God. Paragraph 18. My Guru, I should see him as Mukunda Preshta. Another name of Radharani, anyone knows? It is Preshta. So Mukunda is very dear. Preshta means very dear. So Radharani, another name is Preshta. So Mukunda is, the spiritual master is very dear to Mukunda. Mukunda Preshta. In other words, Raghunath Das Goswami says to learn to see one goal in everything we do. So even if we don't go for the class because we have to serve our family members, but that service also is service to Krishna. And maybe we can later on hear the class online or offline or whatever it is. So we need to balance, and even if there is little imbalance, that can create havoc in our practice of sadhana bhakti. So we should see it as one goal, whatever we do. We should not see it as two different goals. If we worship Guru, worship him as someone who is most dear to Krishna, Mukunda Preshta. Worshipping Guru should not turn into a personality cult. Sometimes people binded by their so-called love for Guru start worshipping him apart from God. Sakshat Haritvena, we should see him like that. We worship Guru only because he is dear to Krishna and because through him we can come to Krishna. Paragraph 19. When we want to come to Krishna, we don't want to come to anything else because there is nothing else we need except Krishna. We need love for Krishna. We need chastity in our hearts. This is what Raghunath Das Goswami asked his mind in the second verse. Sachi Sunu and Mukunda Preshta Guru. He says, give up everything else. You need Krishna. Everything else should not become an end in itself for you. You should learn this art of how to connect everything you do to a single goal to see that an end of everything is Krishna, who is bent in three places with his flute to his lips, who is calling us to dance. So this is how, for us, Krishna's calling, just like he played the Vamsi at the Vamsi Vata, his flute, and called the gopis to dance along with him. For us, what is that calling of Krishna's flute? Practically, in our practice of sadhana bhakti, what is that calling? Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji. Chanting.
It is chanting, yes, but it is the the conch shell, blowing of the conch shell at Mangalarti. It's like that flute, and we should rush, should go running to attend the Mangalarti. That is how it should be for us. So we should have that kind of utsaha, enthusiasm. When will I attend Mangalarti? When will I, chant the holy names? We should prepare our consciousness like that. And Prabhupada says that the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra is actually the flute of Krishna, flute song of Krishna. Okay, next theme, we will take up this. Sattva Guna, Guna it has become, I'll just change it. Detachment, faith, and love. It's a very interesting topic. Krishna establishes some principles, adherence to which allows us to gradually purify our hearts. When our hearts are pure, what should then appear in our hearts? Love won't immediately appear, but gradually, by following the principles of Dharma, the 4 regulative principles, and the other principles of Vedic culture, we will rise to the level of Sattva. Next paragraph. In Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, Krishna says that Sattva and Dharma are synonymous. That Sattva strengthens Dharma and religiosity strengthens goodness. Purity or adherence to the principles of purity, following the principles of Sattvic life, will make a person more religious. And religion makes a person live in more purity. These are integrally related to each other. The more one is in Sattva, the more one is, dharmic. So that is the connection between Sattva and Dharma. If we simply live a pure life, we will become more inclined to God, and this inclination will in turn make us live an increasingly pure life. But we do not need merely material purity or material sattva. Ultimately, purity will certainly result in love of Godhead, but love is preceded by something else, that is faith. Now, Maharaj is connecting sattva with now, purity. Purity, those who are in sattvic, leading a very sattvic life, sattvic food, today the whole vegan culture is going on everywhere. But that will not lead to love of Godhead. There is an additional element, that is faith. Therefore, Krishna explains to Uddhava in the Bhagavatam, Tavat karmani purvita na nirvidyeta yavata mat kata shavanado shraddhayavan na jayate. Shraddho, why it is. So this is a very important verse, and very, elaborate discussion has to be done to understand this verse. But I'll explain in essence before what Maharaj has to say. Tavat karmani purvita. Do all your duties very meticulously based on your conditioned nature. You are now taken up to Krishna conscious practice. You are not in the Varnashram. Nobody is there in the Varnashram because Varnashram is practically nowhere followed in the world. Somehow we have come in touch with devotees and we have developed a faith and we have taken up to the process. But still we have a conditioned nature and we have conditioned duties. We have constitutional duties, that is chanting the holy names, attending Bhagavatam class, reading Bhagavatam, all these devotional activities. These are constitutional duties. But as long as we are conditioned We are not on the transcendental platform. We cannot perform only constitutional duties 24 hours. So we have to also practice conditional duties. So tavat karmani purvita na nirvidyet yavata. So when you become completely detached, that means you surpass the conditioning. Till then, when you have not yet completely attained detachment, you continue doing both your conditional duties and constitutional duties. Mat kata shavana ado va. And continuously keep on hearing until you come to the stage of Shraddha. This Shraddha is Purna Shraddha, Sarva Dharman Parityajya. Shraddha yavan na jayate. Once you come to the stage of Purna Shraddha, or this is the Madhyam Adhikari stage, which is the stage of Nishta, where you're free from the conditioning, then Sarva Dharman Parityajya. You can give up all dharma, or you'll perform Varmashram duties with detachment now. Before you used to perform a Varnashram duties or your conditional duties because the conditioned impressions were there. But now the conditioning is gone because now you are on the transcendental platform. That is attaining Purna Shraddha. So till then, you need to continue doing your duties. That's why you need to do balance of both. That's what I have been explaining. So let's see what Maharaj has to say. If a person performs some dharma, some Vedic rituals, then gradually something wonderful happens. Na nirvidyet yavata. Detachment from material world appears in the heart. Similarly, a Nishkama Karma Yogi, who is in the Varnashram, Karmanyeva Adhikaraste, 2.47 in Bhagavad, he performs without attachment of foods. He comes to the point of Sita Pragya. He becomes completely detached now. He is now self-realized soul. Now he can take up to the path of Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, or Bhakti Yoga if he comes in touch with the association of pure devotee. So this is the reason we should perform our dharma or whatever duties, conditional duties, in a detached mood so that we can attain detachment. Detachment from this world should appear. If a person follows the principles of Vedic dharma, what they attain is indifferent to the temptations of the material world, a sign of purification of the heart. Now, if you want to know what are the signs of purification, see whether you have developed some indifference to the temptations of this world. A pure heart is a heart that is gradually drifting away from the temptations of the material world. So this is the sign. Next paragraph. As a result of detachment, faith in Krishna Karta will spring in our hearts. Now, this faith now is not the regular faith we are hearing Krishna Katha, we are trying to understand, clearing our doubts. This faith has become so firm in the heart. Shraddha Shabde Sudrida Nishchay, Shabde Viswas Sudrida Nishchay, Krishna Bhakti Kaile Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. Some deep faith has sprung in our hearts. As we become more aloof from the stories of material world, from all this Jad Katha and Maya Katha, proportionally faith in Krishna Katha appears. By watching the news on TV, for instance, we actually strengthen our faith in Maya Katha. Now we don't watch news on TV, we watch news on mobile. So the more we spend on that, the more our faith in Maya Katha will happen. I do not know how many thousands of shlokas there are describing Maya Katha, but every day there are more mundane stories in the form of films and news and everything else. But if a person begins to follow the principles of sattva, rising early in the morning, chanting japa, following other principles, then gradually they feel detachment from mundane katha and faith in Krishna Katha. So this is how Maharaj in this theme, how sattva, following religious principles will lead to sattva. Sattva itself is a religion, and dharma, and that dharma will lead to faith, faith in hearing Krishna Katha. That faith in hearing Krishna Katha will detach us from the material, and slowly it will lead to love for Krishna Katha. So this is how Maharaj is bringing out this theme here. A very systematic flow of thought is going on here. Now the next theme is giving up adharma now. We have spoken about the 4 regulative principles, which is sign of purity. Now, how to give up adharma is the next theme. Now, before we begin this next theme, any questions, any clarifications about this theme, what we discussed, Satguna, detachment, faith, and love. Paragraphs 20 to 25. Any questions, any clarifications? Okay, so I'll just start this theme, just few slides I'll take, and tomorrow we'll continue with this discussion. Giving up adharma. There is one question. Yes, Virendra Yadav Premji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So just one clarification. While we are under influence of more doing conditional duty.
Can you speak a little loudly, please?
Prabhu, I'm saying that while we are conditioned under the influence of mode and doing conditional duties, so Prabhu, as we progress from ignorance to pious and passion to goodness, so should we leave the should we transit the previous duties which are under influence of ignorance or passion, like from Vaisya to Kshatriya to, I mean, that way to Brahmana duties. Should we go in that direction, or?
Okay. Very important. This is a very important question. Very nice question. I had this question many years back, and I got the very crystal clear answer, which was very satisfying to me, and I will repeat that. So usually, this is a very deep subject, which the subtle psychology of the effects of the modes of our conditioning, which we really don't understand, because this is very subtle. Generally, devotees who take up the Krishna consciousness have their conditioned natures. Somebody by nature is, a Kshatriya by nature. Somebody by nature is a businessman. He is Vaishya by nature. And this conditioned nature is born. We are born with it. And it stays with the body. It doesn't leave so easily. It doesn't go off. It's not so easy. So this conditioned nature remains. Now, I'll just give an example to understand. Suppose some businessman joins the Krishna conscious movement. He starts chanting, and he gives donation, but he wants that you announce my name. I want that. I want to hear my name being announced that I am giving this donation. So slowly, what happens is, he says, he feels, it's not so good, because I'm, expecting some fruit because of giving donation, that they should, announce my name. So he'll start giving donations saying that keep it anonymous, don't announce who it is. He just wants to do service without any expectation. So that's the one level of consciousness up. And then now he is giving donation. When a higher level, he will think of, let me collect donations because I'm good in business. I can approach other businessmen. Now I am giving donation, to go and, beg from others for somebody who is very rich, who is, having himself money, for him to go and beg donations, that's a sign of humility. So when he starts doing that, that is another level of consciousness. So like that, slowly within that nature, the sattva has to increase. And then slowly, maybe he will take up a service in the temple project where there is more fundraising, because that's his nature, but in more of a detached mode. So that is how each one has to understand his psychological nature. And the best of his abilities, he has to use those abilities because that ability is given by Krishna in Krishna's service, and slowly increase sattva more in us. And the more we increase sattva, then the more we can practice the core devotional activities, that is hearing and chanting. And ultimately, at the end of the life, maybe whatever background he's from, whether he's from having this nature of a businessman, slowly, then he will become detached and then focus on only core activities. I know one businessman who came into Krishna consciousness, and he used to get disturbed if his name is not announced, and he used to come and inform me. And later on, as years passed, he got retired, bought a house near the temple, and then now donated that property also to temple. Later on, initially, he was a little reluctant, but now he gave it. But although he was retired from business, but every day he used to go to visit his business 2-3 hours. But with the age, the body was not supporting. He could just hardly walk. Then he stopped going. And then he started concentrating more and more, into reading, chanting, and hearing. And now he's, even while sleeping, he's chanting the holy name. So like that, whatever our conditioned nature is, we should gradually try to detach from the foods and increase sattva. This is very important. But the conditioned nature usually doesn't, it's there with the body, it stays. And slowly, gradually, the purification happens. Is it okay, Birendra Yadav Prabhuji?
Yes, good. Thank you, Virendra. So, actually, this question I was looking from, in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says, Shreyas Dharmo Viguda. That was.
Yes.
So,
that is twice repeated in the Gita, and that has to be clearly understood what Krishna is saying. Yes. Okay. Any other questions anyone has? Any other questions, clarifications? Okay, so we will stop and will not start the next theme. It's a very important thing, giving up adharma, especially for devotees. Maharaj is going to speak about the regulative principles. How, the subtle tendencies, even while following the regulative principles, is there, and how we should uproot them from the root. Maharaj is going to speak about it, and we will discuss that tomorrow. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Srila Raghunath Das Goswami ki Jai. Shri Manah Siksha ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.